Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a roller coaster water slide house. Before I begin the tutorial, I want to show you how this works. So, we start our journey all the way down at the base of the house, which is where the roller coaster comes into play. So, we hop in the minecart, we push this button, and we gracefully ascend into the base of the house. By the way, this house has 2 stories. We can then exit the house either the way we came, which is not the way that I'd recommend, or we can climb up into here, and this is the water slide part. So we can work our way through this Mario inspired colored water slide, and we can very gracefully float our way down. It's quite a lot of fun, this house. You have plenty of options on how to get in and out of the house, and eventually, once you have navigated your way all the way down the waterfall, you will end up at the very base of the house. I like to call that part of the house the lagoon. So, this is the video, guys. I'm hoping that you guys enjoy it. If you do, please do remember to hit that like button. I would highly recommend, once you've finished making this for yourself, I do have a few other houses that I've made. I have plenty of other fun houses. I have a water slide house that I've made recently. I have a roller coaster house that I've made recently. I've made plenty of bouncy houses and plenty of water slides, and I've even made a roller coaster by itself. What I'm telling you is, please check out the card system and the description below for all of my other fun related builds. I realize that I've been talking for quite a while now, so I'm going to cut it off here. Let me show you how to make this thing. So, before we make this, I should let you know that this house will fit into roughly a 17 by 30 block area. You might need a little bit more, you might need a little bit less. It kind of depends on how much land you want to attribute, but roughly this amount of space is quite safe. It's more high than anything else. We also need all of these materials that you can see here, and hopefully not too many more. I don't think I've forgotten any. So make sure that you got them all, and then begin by grabbing this top row right here. This is what we're going to be starting off with. So, inside of this area right here, I'm going to be starting towards the sort of like back middle area. We're going to begin with a row of 11 blue concrete coming directly up from the ground. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We want to go right of that 11th block by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're then going to extend that 8th block all the way down to the ground. So, once you've done that, once you have connected that 8th block down to the ground, well, what we want to do is we also want to take that 8th block and we want to extend it backwards by 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 coming towards the back of the build. And we actually want to fill all of these rows in. So we want to extend all of those rows across and backwards so that we eventually end up with a nice big blue table shape. You don't have to make this blue if you don't want to, although I would highly recommend it. I messed about with the colours quite a lot, and this I think is the most eye-catching, colourful way to have the house, but you can change it. We also want to take the back corners of this big giant platform table shape, and we want to connect the corners all the way down to the ground. So we want to end up with something that should look exactly like this. We then want to grab our red concrete and coming across the back of the platform that we've just made, we want to place a row of red concrete on top of the back of the platform, like that. We then want to take the ends of the red concrete and we want to extend them towards us by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is 8 blocks coming towards the front of the build. And we want the same on the opposite side. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're just going to connect it across like that. We then want to slap a row of red glass directly on top of this. So place a row of red glass directly on top of the red concrete, just as we're doing now. We then want to place a row of red concrete on top of the glass. So just directly on top of the glass, place yourself a nice row of red concrete, just like this. And then what we want to do is we want to devise where the entrance is going to be. So there's an entrance to this house. It wants to be right in the center of the front of the platform. So knock out the 2 middle blocks. This is where the entrance will be, on the front of your platform. You then want to place blue concrete going all the way around those 2 empty blocks, like that. You then want to place red concrete above and behind the entrance. So you want to place a row of 3 above and behind the entrance like this, in line with the red concrete. And then you want to extend that row of red left and right by 1, just like that. What we're then going to do is we are going to extend the platform. So you want to take the top front of the platform and you want to add a row of blue concrete, I don't know my colors, in front of the platform that is 1 row shorter on either side, like that. We then want to do the same thing again, so 1 row shorter on either side. And a final time, place another row that is 1 row shorter on either side. So eventually, you'll get to have a row of 3, like that. You then want to take the blocks left and right of this. In the row of 3, you want to take the left block and the right block, and you want to extend them down, like that, just by 1. And then towards you, and then down, and towards you, and down, and towards you until you eventually reach the ground. It shouldn't take too long, although it is quite a way up there. It really is. It's quite a long little roller coaster until you eventually get to the very top of your house. But just keep placing your blocks and you can't really go too far wrong. Like that. So there you go, we have a stairway. And what we're basically going to do here is we are going to place a row of red concrete that just sits in between the 2 rows of blue and just like 1 row below the blue, if that makes sense. I've kind of already made it here, but you just want to have like an offset row of red concrete leading up the middle of this. Then, once you get up to the top, destroy a couple of blocks in the middle, a couple of blocks of blue. And you just want to replace the blocks underneath that with a red concrete. So, like, destroy a couple of blocks and you'll find that you only have 1 gap to contend with. And then it just kind of, like, better fits in here with the theme of our roller coaster. And what we also want to do is we just want to extend the, you know where the roller coaster like starts off from? It's better if we have a few blocks leading up to the coaster. So like if you extend the blue blocks towards you by like a couple of blocks, so it's now sat on the like outline, and if you're destroying the ground and however far you've extended it, so like if you want to, you could extend it this far back, but I'm quite happy with the amount that I've already done. And this is where the coaster is going to start. The coaster wants to begin with a few powered rails, between, you know, like 2, 3, something like that. The amount that you need is, I think you do at least need 2, but 3 might be better. And then you can actually place a few regular rails if you don't have any, if you don't have that much like golden stuff. Or iron, or whatever it is that you use to make powered rails. I'm in creative, obviously. So you can place a few regular rails, and as you get towards the top, place, you know, 3, 4, or so more powered rails. And then once you get to the top again, place some more regular rails, like this, coming up towards the top. And once you eventually get, like, inside of the house, you are going to want, like, maybe just a couple more powered rails. So maybe, like, 1, 2... yeah, that's about enough. So maybe a couple more powered rails. Now we are going to see if this works, right? So why don't we grab what we need here? So obviously we're going to need some redstone torches, buttons, and some minecarts. I'm going to place a button right at the very start of this, just on top of the blue concrete, and I'm going to chuck a minecart in there. Wherever we've placed powered rails underneath this, we're going to want to chuck some redstone torches and make sure that those rails are indeed powered, like that. Once we get up to the top here, we're going to want to also have a button that will control the powered rails that will allow us to go back down. Although we don't even need powered rails at the top, mind you. I'll show you why in a sec. So, now, let's see if this works. We might not have enough power in the middle maybe, but let's see. So we're in the minecart. We push this button and we want to get all the way up to the top. And that actually worked perfectly. That's wonderful. Okay, that's really cool. So the way that we would get down is we could jump in this minecart and we could push some buttons, and that doesn't seem to work. Or you can pretty much just like shove your way down. It's a very short distance. You don't even need like powered rails at all. Not really. So you might even want to forego those. It depends where you're building this, of course. I mean, you might want to save on some materials, but I wouldn't even have them powered. So that's the rail system complete. That's a little bit of the house. Let's make the rest of the house before we make the way to get down. The official way to get down, if you will. So this is the base of the house that we have here. What we want to do is, you know this sticky up row of red concrete that we placed earlier? The row of 5 above the actual entrance. Place a row of yellow concrete behind it. Extend that row of yellow left and right by 1. Then take those extra blocks and kind of just extend them around and inside the top of the house so that it fits snugly into the red concrete frame. We then want to place up on top of all of these yellows, we want to place 6 additional rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On top of every single one of these yellows. This is going to make all of the living space in the house. If you didn't want to, I mean, you don't even have to make a house this big or this color or this cartoony. I just think that the whole thing really does just kind of come together. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be something that you'd like see it like, I don't know, like an amusement park, if such a thing even exists, which I guess it doesn't really in real life, but you guys get the idea. Like, it's just supposed to be like a nice, fun, cartoony, colourful house that, you know, you and your friends can kind of enjoy. It's kind of like a fun idea, and even if you guys don't build this exact one, I might have given you an idea here, but here we go. So that is what you want to have so far, okay? So what we're going to be doing next, we want to, once again, starting with this row of 5 red concrete that we have just above the entrance, you want to leave a gap of 2 between this row, so 1 and 2, and then you want to have the same row of 5 red concrete on the front of the house, simply 1 row higher, just like that. You then, above this, want to place a row of blue concrete. Then extend that row of blue concrete towards you by 1 row. And then extend the 3 middle blocks towards you by 1 row. Then take the original row of blue and use it to place a row of red concrete that goes all the way around the top of the house. So it gives it a nice trim effect. It kind of wants to look oddly futuristic, if that makes sense. I have a weird idea of this in my head. So that's what we want to have. We then want to use our yellow concrete, and we want to take the front of the house and the back of the house, and we want to create a pyramid shape on the front and the back of the house. So to do this, you take this long row and you shrink it by 1 either side. And then again, and again, like this. So that's the front of the house. And the back of the house also, you just want to take 1 either side, just shrink, shrink, shrink. Just like that. We want to place red concrete on the very left-hand side of the house. Like this, just on the left-hand side of the house, that last row of yellow, place a row of red concrete coming out the side of it. Take that end row of concrete, or that end block of concrete, extend it towards you by 1 row. And then extend it inwards 1 by right. And then up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1. You might see where I'm going with this. This is the roof. We then want to take the block that we went up on top of, and we want to go right, down, right, down, right, down, right, until we are on the side of the house. We can then extend this coming towards the back, extend it out of the back by 1, and then we want to extend it right, up, right, up, right, up, right, up, like this. So we're just doing the edge of the roof. We take the block that we went up from, and we want to go right, down, right, down, right, down, right, just like that. And then you can just fill in the center of the roof using your red concrete. And I think that that's a very nice, very easy way to do the roof. And it kind of shows you how it's all nice and put together. That's kind of how you know, I design things kind of like piece by piece by piece until eventually you have something that looks quite finished. So far, we want to have something which should look like that. We're almost done with the house portion of this, but we are missing one important detail. Where we have this blue balcony, we want to have an entrance out onto the balcony. So we'll knock out these two middle blocks that correspond with the balcony, and we will create a floor inside of the house using blue concrete. So we want to be able to walk directly into the house or out of the house onto the balcony. Whichever way you view it, you're either walking out or you're walking in, whatever. But the point is you want to have this entrance. We also want to place a red stained glass pane trim around the balcony, like this, just so that nobody can fall off. Plus, it introduces a little bit more colour to the top of the house, which otherwise is a bit boring. So, you can see this house is a little bit dull at the moment. D-U-L-L, not done, dull. It kind of sounded like done in my head. Anyway, it's a little dull. We're going to brighten this up. The best way to brighten up a house is with a water slide. So we're going to use lime concrete because using lime is fun because it kind of reminds me of Mario. And we want to come to the upper right hand side of the house. So you want to find on the right hand side of the house the top left yellow concrete. So this block right here, it is unmistakable. You will find it, I'm sure you will. You want to move down from that block by 1. You then want to move inwards by 1, 2. This is where we are going to begin the water slide. Destroy this red concrete and the one to the right, and replace them with with actually lime concrete. It's not just green, it's lime. Extend the lime towards you by 2. 1, 2. Place a row of lime concrete down and towards you from that initial row. You then want to place another one of those, so down and towards you by 1 row, like this. You then want to take that second row and extend it down by 7 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Each one of the limes. There we go. We then want to take the very bottom right hand corner block and you want to extend it to the right by 1, up 1, but also down 1, left 1 to create this shape. You then want to take the bottom 2 pair of lime concretes on the right hand side and extend them each to the right by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. We then want to place a row of lime concrete coming back and to the right. So from this, we want a row of lime concrete that is to the back and to the right. It wants to create a curve. And then we want to do the same again, like that. We then want to take that second row and we want to extend it to the right by 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and of course the row on top as well. We then want to take the very bottom right hand corner block in the row of lime that you've just placed, extend it to the right by 1. Down 1, left 2, 1, 2. You then want to take the bottom right hand corner pair of limes and extend them down by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like that. What we then want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is we want to place a row of lime concrete coming towards the front of the house. We want to place a row of lime coming down and towards the front of the house like that. So that's 1 row. And then we want to do it again. So we want to hit the floor and we just want to have that second row like this. We then want to take this row that hits the floor, we want to extend it forwards by 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And of course, we want the other row to equal it, just like this. Perfect. So once you've done that, we're then going to take the last 2 blocks in this row, and we're just going to extend them inwards by like to the right, towards the center of the house by like 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we end up with a shape that should look very much like that. Yeah? So we have a nice big snaking shape. But that's not exactly what we're after. What we now want to do is we want to create the rest of these slides. So the way that we're going to do this, it's going to be very logical. Let me show you. We don't need to use measurements and stuff for this. I'll show you what we want to do. Come all the way back up to where we begun. So what we want to do is we want to leave a gap of 2 coming down from the top of these slides. So like 1, 2. And we want to place a row of lime concrete coming outwards 2 rows down, like that. We then want to place a row of lime coming out and towards us from that first initial row of lime, just like that. We then want the lime to create the same pattern that we have just to the left of us. So, can you see the shape that we have to the left of us? We want to have the same thing with the lime that we're placing now. Except the major difference here is the lime is basically just 1 block away, if that makes sense. So, we want to have the same shape that we do here, just 2 rows away. And then we want to extend these bottom 2 lime, come in towards the edge of the slide here, and we always want to maintain a gap of 2. So we want to extend this, come in towards the back of the slide. We're then going to wrap the lime around at the back of the slide by 1 row. Is this making sense? So like, there's your starting point. We did bottom diagonals, and then we matched the shape of the slide on this point, right here. Then we're bringing it back. We're coming around the bend, and then we're going to place lime coming across the back of the house now, just hugging the back platform. We want those 2 rows of lime coming like right here, hugging the back of the platform. We want to copy the shape that we have here on the end. So we want to copy this shape. We want to make sure that all of the blocks are the same from this row. And the row that we've made there we go. So we've now copied that shape. We then want to extend these end 2 limes here, these end 2 at the bottom. We want to extend these down, and we want to leave a gap of 2 from the bottom of the slide. So make sure there's a gap of 2 from the bottom of the slide, just like that. And then we want to take these 2 limes that are 2 rows away, and we want to extend it, come in towards the front of the slide, and we're actually going to just extend them about halfway, or maybe a little over halfway here, coming towards the front of the slide. Just like that, okay? So we don't want it to come all the way, because we actually have a lot of the slide that is exposed. So all we want to do is, in between these 2 rows of lime, we want to place on the outside, covering up all of the empty space, more lime. So the lime wants to stick out by 1 row, and all it wants to do is it just wants to cover up the empty space that is in between these 2 rows. And we don't want to make the rows any thicker than they have to be. So like when you get to the corner bits, just cover up the space. You don't need to double up on any rows or anything, like you just want to cover up the empty space. And if you do that, you'll end up with a very organic looking shape. It'll look as though it belongs. If that makes sense. Like, as you're doing this, you'll see that it all looks as though it belongs. Like, it doesn't look weird and blocky. It looks as though it's an actual curve. And we want to do the same on the opposite side. So on this opposite side, I'll destroy the 2 separator rows. You just want to do the same thing. You just cover up all of that empty space. That's all you do. So I'm hoping that was easy enough to... I hope that I've explained that in a good way. And it's also like a fast way to do it as well. I'm hoping that that's both been like a quick way to do it, and it's like a, you know, easy way to do it. I hope, anyway. So eventually we will have all of this slide filled in, and of course, once again, remember, just fill in the parts that need filling in. Don't Don't add any other stuff, you just want to fill in all of the empty space. So eventually we'll reach the end of the slide and then we can make it look just a little bit nicer. You'll see why in just a moment. So we want to have something which should look like this. And it has really brightened up the house, hasn't it? So to complete this, all we have to do is we just have to place a single row this time of lime going around the top of the remainder of the slide. So instead of having the 2 rows of lime that we would typically have, you just want to place a single row of lime going all the way around the slide like that, and that is just like an exposed portion of the slide. And I'm also going to dig a couple of blocks in the ground at the end of the slide because the next thing is going to be to add water. So if you work your way up the slide, like go inside the slide and work your way up until you eventually see some yellow here, destroy into the house. This is going to be where you would like enter the actual slide. And I'm just going to place a couple of rows of yellow concrete here. And I'm going to place ladders taking you up to the slide itself. So you actually don't need any barriers or anything here because there'll be no water like up at the top. But all we're going to do is we're just going to place water here so that you have a nice starting point. We're going to place water here so that we fall down into the slide. And then we're actually going to make the water still. So we're going to make the water still so that it's not moving here. Oh, what have I done? There we go. We're going to make the water still here, and we're going to try and make it as still as possible so that it flows down into the next portion. Because if you find that if you try and make the water not still, you're going to find that you'll get stuck on the slide, if that makes sense. Why isn't this working? Is that fine? Is that fine? Do I need more water here? Where do I need the water? I think that'll actually work. So now we're going to drop into the lower part of the slide, and we're going to want to make this water still as well. So we want to make the water still, and we just want it to flow enough so that it carries us out onto the next part. So let's try that. So we've added all the water, and I'm taking fly off, so we drop down into the slide, and the goal is that simply just so that we don't have any resistance. You will have to swim some of it yourself like this, but we don't want any resistance as we work our way through the water slide. With the way that this slide is set up, you can't really have it so that the current takes you. You've got to force your way through. But that is the slide, ladies and gentlemen. That's the slide fully operational. Now, the only thing that I would suggest to make this build even better, if it's even possible, is to make a nice little sort of pool at the bottom of your build. So the water has to flow somewhere, yeah? So the water has to flow somewhere. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a lagoon. I guess is the better word for it rather than pool. As I'm going to make a little lagoon at the... Why am I saying that weird? A little lagoon at the base of your at the base of the house. So maybe dig out a center spot like this for the base of your house. And I'm going to fill this with water later on. I'm not going to do it on recording because it'll actually take a while. So dig that out, replace that with water. But what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to place some sand around the base of the house. And I might even place a couple of umbrellas and parasite. I'm not going to do that actually. I don't really want to do that. But that's pretty much the house, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get up to the second floor on the house, you're going to have to place a row of yellow concrete or something at the back corner, at the back center of the house, so that you can run a row of ladders and then destroy up into the second floor. But the second floor is already set up for you. So, you've got plenty of space upon the second floor. You've got a fair amount of space upon the first floor too. You've got access to the water slide. You know how the roller coaster works. All I'm going to do is I'm going to dig out that pool and I'm going to add some sand around the place. And I'll show you how it looks once all that's done and dusted. So, give me a moment. I'll be back in just a moment. And this is what the whole thing looks like once you've added a nice lagoon to the base of the house. And once you have added a little bit of sand. Now, you don't have to add the sand or the lagoon for that matter, but I think that looks really nice if you do. And that's pretty much the house. ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that there's anything that I've missed. I think I've shown you how to make all of the little bits and bobs. The only thing that you have left to do is just to build it, use it, and fill the inside with all of your fun stuff. Anyway, that is the house all done and dusted. I'm hoping that you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please do remember to hit that like button. I'd really appreciate that. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, and lets me know that you like it. Very, very important stuff. Of course, I'd like to know that you guys like the content. If you do enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel and click the little bell next to the subscription button. Did I tell you to do that already? But please do if you haven't. I've completely lost where I am with this. If you like the video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see next. And if you do want to see more stuff by me, this is a very specific corner of my world. This is kind of like the weird corner, but you can see like cities and stuff in the background. Check out the card system description below. I would highly recommend the cartoon builds playlist. I'm pretty sure that you guys will like that. No matter what, you'll find something in there that you'll love. Like to see cartoon builds playlist in both the card system and the description below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.